it's not a situation you can really work out. And Dignitas felt the wrath of that first. Eventually, the other teams, but it took all the way up until the playoffs. Eventually, they were able to figure it out, but it still took a very long time.
Yeah, and for this first series of the day, guys, speaking of Chinese teams being innovative and, very creative on the way they play the game, we're going to play on Battlefield of Eternity, and I just want to elaborate a little bit more on that, on the points you brought up, Tetra. I think a lot of people are always like, China, yeah, they do their own thing, but when it comes to the big stage, when it comes to the big international comparison, they're not going to do that well. However, something we can't deny is the fact that China actually sets trends for the global stage. Just think of Zagara. She was not really played by any other region other than China, and now she's a common sight again. It's just really, really cool to see how China continues to impress people and sometimes, carries their trends over to all the other regions.
Yeah, with a lot of innovation takes time in a lot of the other regions because people usually aren't willing to step outside of the meta.
Yeah.
China has no meta. Well, I lied. China has its own meta, but they've always been more willing to experiment, and that is why this region is such a joy to watch. For now, though, ladies and gentlemen, we are loading into the draft on Battlefield of Eternity. Uther shall be the first ban.
Yeah, no well met this time. And speaking of metas and how China is normally a little bit outside of the global meta, this is probably one of the first times where China deliberately took something into account they saw at the midseason brawl. Uther, Anubarak, Genji, those are the heroes that are so highly sought after in other regions as well. And for the first time, China seems to slowly but surely adapt and take this into their own league.
Indeed, they appear to be working it out. The question is, are Wukong going to join them, or are they going to give something like that Genji over to SPT? They obviously have to give one. There's only one ban available for them.
Right. So what is their first ban going to be? It could be a Genji. Genji is pretty deadly on Battlefield of Eternity. It could be something like Vala too, though. Vala is still so highly contested in the Chinese meta, especially with double support comms, the hyper carry style. She's still a menace. But this guy as well, Greymane, just as deadly when it comes to shredding immortals all by himself.
So Genji picked up first by SPT. Now, SPT have actually been left with an option here because every time they've tried to sneak a Cho'Gall into their draft, it has usually been via either picking or banning Greymane first. They also get a double pick as their last pick. I would say if we see an Ariel as their support, we should keep our eyes open.
Oh, yeah. I remember yesterday when they tried to hide it so sneakily, so cheekily, but Hots Lady, they were not falling for it. And you could see the disappointment in SPT's faces in the minicam there when they banned it.
But SPT, they are one to run the Cho'Gall. They know to do so. It would be that they would, like I said, they would have to ban out the Tigers. They wouldn't be running it like a Zealot style with triple tank, basically, with one of the tanks being Cho and then one support.
Yeah.
They would have to run it with, if they went with Tigers, a triple damage dealer, which would be potentially risky with Cho being the only actual tank there. But Li Ming and the Anubarak picked up first for Wukong. A very standard but very solid opening for them.
Yeah, very solid indeed, Tetcher, because Li Ming and Anubarak, they pair off very well together for two main reasons, I think. First of all, Anubarak is no longer able to sort of counter the damage, the abilities from Li Ming herself, but also you take away the Li Ming from the enemy team, which means they're no longer going to be able to use Disintegrate to just shred the cocoon. So there are even more reasons these days to pick Li Ming and Anubarak together in the same team.
Indeed. They are pretty good together in general. I don't believe there are many heroes at all who can kill the cocoon as quick.
Now Anubarak, though, by the way, a long way to go, but he's getting there with a win rate. We're working on it.
He's in there. He's coming. Only a 27% win rate. Because the fact is, he wasn't picked much last season, and then when he was, he got wrecked. It is just such difference. Okay, Dahaka and Arthas. So, okay, so no Cho'Gall, not possible anymore unless they want to run a supportless comp. RIP, if so. But so far, they have a great amount of teamfight potential. Lots of AoE coming in here.
Yeah, a lot of AoE, as you said, a lot of crowd control too. Arthas, of course, being the slow master out of all the heroes in the Nexus. Then we've actually had spectacular Dahaka plays yesterday by KT, for example. They always managed to get that hero in the flanks when it was needed. So Dahaka really a very impressive sight in the Chinese HGC thus far, and I'm pretty sure that SPT, probably Misaka on it. are definitely going to be able to continue this trend.
And KT, they're actually running Dahaka basically as an assassin with the extra spell damage coming in as they just charged in. Works exceptionally well for them, using isolation as well. Was pretty cool to see. Very rarely do we see comps like this. So Valor banned out by Wukong Gaming would have been fine. A Valor Ariel or Valor anything else really would have been a very suitable ending. This is the lowest actually we've seen any priority onto supports in HGC China, especially with the Uther banned out so early and Malfurion moving down the card a bit.
Yeah, as you said, we're playing on the Malfurion patch, guys, so the Malfurion rework is live here as well. And as Tetris said, Malfurion has gone down in popularity a little bit because he no longer has the cleanse. His Twilight Dream no longer offers the passive mana regeneration. So those are all some hits that he had to take. And as a result, he's not really as highly prioritized anymore. What do you make of this Vala ban, by the way, Tetris? Couldn't they have picked it themselves, Wukong Gaming, that is, because they were the first pickers after this ban phase? A little bit weird.
They could have, but I think that would have pigeonholed them in terms of their style of damage. That poke damage is really good, but it requires you to get another very heavy lockdown, which is very difficult when your opponents already have Arthas and Anubrak, and Dahaka, two heroes who are very hard to lock down in general.
So which assassin would you see, or would you like to see instead? Coming out here for Wukong Gaming. But before we continue on that thought, look at that Alaric ban. We saw some great Alaric play yesterday, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Very much respected now. He was exceptionally efficient, was able to get a lot of double Discord strikes, actually.
Yeah, I think it was E-Star who ran it. Yeah, it was very, very impressive. On the very same map, too.
Indeed, it was. So, Assassins-wise, poke damage is always lovely here, but a bit of sustained damage would be good. You need something with a decent giant killer to deal with Arthas, but you need to be careful with how you're dealing that damage to Arthas. I wouldn't mind something like Falstad to counteract the global, because you still get the giant killer, and you are it's a lot easier to stay at range with barrel roll and the extra movement speed you get at the later levels. I would not mind that.
Yeah, I would also like to see an Artanis coming out, maybe. Yesterday, Artanis was able to single-handedly win the games for SPT with a great performance on Brax's holdout. And he's even better, in my opinion, on Battlefield of Eternity because of his amateur opponent as well. So let's see. They do indeed go for the Malfurion, prioritizing him over the likes of Oriel, for example.
And Rhaegar.
Yeah, and Rhaegar, too. Yeah, so apparently no cleanse is needed these days. I like it.
They also went with Taika, slightly less safe than Falstad, but much better at shredding through that Arthas thanks to the minigun and, of course, the ability power from the overkill.
Yeah.
Decent pick. They now have a very solid lineup in terms of damage. They do need extra protection, though. Taika and Li Ming, yeah, they are pretty tough. They both have a dash/teleport each, so that they are able to keep themselves a little bit safe. But Dahaka and Arthas are the most relentless tanks in terms of continuously following you in the game. So a second front line, some good peel for them could be essential. Maybe something like a Tyrael, maybe something just with some more peel potential like a Muradin or maybe even an ETC.
I would love to see a Leoric coming in China as well, because he's been known to be that tank menace, especially against low mobility warriors like Arthas, who don't even have an escape spell. Like Dahaka, of course, he could use the burrow, but forcing out a burrow early by simply dropping your Drain Hope on him is always a good trade for you, because the cooldown of the burrow is much longer than your W. So Leoric is also a formidable soul laner, one of the few heroes in the game that can actually hold their ground against the Dahaka in that soul lane. So let's see what they're going to come up with.
Indeed, we will see if that is a possibility. We do have Falstad coming in from SPT, so they have the double global. They could attempt to do a double lane soak with Genji, Arthas, and Karazim going for the defense. Also, can I just say how happy it makes me that they're running that skin on Karazim against Wukong Gaming, being that skin is inspired by Goku, who himself is inspired by Sun Wukong?
Absolutely, I couldn't be happier.
Multiple levels of lore!
Thatcher with the cross references here. I'm loving it. He's transgressing all the genres that we can find. But no, in all honesty, that could only be topped by picking the Wukong monkey skin for Samuro.
Yes, absolutely. That would be awesome if they did do that. It wouldn't be terrible. No. It would be not good, but it wouldn't be terrible. There we go. Decent healing, good engage potential. There is actually only 2, potentially 3 interrupts here for Mosh Pit. Dahaka Tongue, potential isolation, and Mighty Gust.
Yeah. And those are all relatively eye cooldown abilities. So if you manage to avoid one or two of those, there's not going to be much left that could stop you from starting a pretty fiery dance party. So ETC being picked for the very first time in HGC China Phase 2. And we see the Mighty Cow come in swinging, or are they going to go down with it? Now, I'm a little bit worried about Wukong's solo lane, because I don't think any hero they've got can really best the Dehaka, unless they maybe put the Tychus in there, because oftentimes what I think many teams aren't really doing as much is that they send a ranged assassin in the solo lane to really bully those melee warriors and melee assassins.
Tychus really does shred Dehaka in that solo lane.
Yeah.
The issue is he's so much more vulnerable than anything else and really can't push up. He will just get destroyed if he is left there if he is pushing up the lane at all. Yeah. His only objective of putting Tychus in the top lane is to make sure that Dehaka does not win the lane super hard.
Yeah, very true. So whenever you play a ranged assassin in the solo lane, which once again is not something terrible, like False Light can also be one of those great one-on-one bullies, make sure that you do not overextend. The moment you cross, the halfway point of your lane, you always have to expect getting ganked because you're so squishy and so fragile. But if you play a good mix between bullying your opponent but always maintaining a safe distance to the enemy base, then I think you can truly become a dominant one-on-one laner. Let's see if Wukong Gaming is going to follow that example, or if they're going to send the likes of ETC or Nubreg even into that solo lane.
Indeed, ETC could be in the solo lane. He can get some decent sustain. He can heal for himself. His wave clear though doesn't really come around to level 10, which would be a bit less than ideal. Until level 7. So that wouldn't be ideal. I don't know. It is a strange one. I think Tychus might actually be the best option.
Yeah. I agree. Also, if you go for ETC and a Nubreg in that 4-man lane, you will have an abundance of crowd control abilities, really being able to lock people down early, chain your stuns together, and get an early first blood, maybe. Now, let's see. First game coming up very shortly after this hype trailer.
Hot damn, China know how to produce. So, ladies and gentlemen, spawning on the left-hand side of the battlefield of eternity. It is one of our newest teams to HGC China. It is Wukong Gaming, with Ailing playing the Tychus, Laohu playing the ETC, Dideo playing the Malfurion Zero on the ETC, and I missed the last one.
Alright, no worries. We're going to have SPT in here. On the reds, we have Pring Zhao on that false set. Melody C playing Genji, Misaka on the main tank on Arthas, Wings playing the Dehaka, and on the support we have ZZH rocking that Karzim. Now, Wukong Gaming, this is going to be one of their toughest challenges to overcome. SPT, the, quote-unquote C2 in HGC China right now, although I think E-Star is going to be a strong contender to that slot over course of the season. Now, we have a little bit of a pause going on here. Maybe something went wrong with the PCs. Maybe some of the keyboards aren't working. There are many reasons why to have a pause.
Either way, we did get a quick glimpse at some of the talents. Li Ming going with that astral presence, going with that extra mana regen when she is at low mana, trying to allow her to poke as much as possible. We also have, and this is the second time this has happened when against these exact two tanks, we have the Beetle Spell Armor, I believe is what I saw there from a noob.
Wow, I didn't see it, but that would be crazy.
This is the second time we've seen this, and it was against the exact same two tanks. You run it, in this case, against Arthas and against Dehaka, because it basically allows them to survive the AoE. Yes, it is. They are going for that. So it allows you to survive the AoE, so those beetles can keep staying up and maybe tank some of those shuriken shots, for example, from Genji.
Yeah.
And it can just continue to be annoying, can continue to poke onto the Immortal, give easy scouting without being instantly killed.
Okay, Tetcher, now, we do have the beetles at level 1, and you basically highlighted their advantages quite handsomely. Now, how much do you think? Whoa! Oh wow, Melody C!
What is this?
I have never seen that one before, but I'm loving it!
No, that is a new move. Okay. Well,
that is so huge,
first
Chetcher.
fountain taken down at 50 seconds.
And that is so huge because oftentimes, especially during the first two Immortal phases, what you will oftentimes see during the halftime show is that people run back, especially if they were low in mana or health. And
oh my God,
then they will come back swinging, so not having this fountain, or not having the top fountain either, is going to be huge, but Melody C, okay, he's safe for now.
Oh, man. Now, Melody C being so cheeky this game, taking down one fountain, going for another, slightly misjumping, taking a keep handing power shots there. But either way, he's trying to bully the fountains. And
this is so cool.
This is an old strategy. You'd sometimes see it with Li Ming.
Yeah.
Back when her abilities didn't have less structure damage, where you'd see her use the arcane missiles to try and take those down. But now, it's just going for it with Genji.
Yeah, in the meantime, though, you could see that the absence of Genji resulted in SPT having a slightly weaker bottom lane, and Wukong Gaming, they were not messing around, they were not wasting any time, and they got the first tower already, which is a nice sort of counter move. But however, I still think that it was worth it. SPT destroying this early middle fountain is gonna, like, really cripple Wukong Gaming's healing process if they desire to do so. So I can't stress enough how cool of a move that was by Melody C.
And speaking of crippling the healing process, we actually see ETC hanging around the Immortal, and he's got for Prog Rock at level 1. Now, this could be a big problem. This is a very hard map to farm globes on, just due to the sheer amount of time you spend at the objective and not in lane. Sure, you get the double globe from the center, but if you're not grabbing the ones from the lanes, you end up very far behind. He needs to keep rotating down to the lane, grab the globe, and rotate back, and hope that his team don't lose too much of an advantage in the meantime.
Couldn't agree more. Prog Rock is a great talent on maps where you're guaranteed to get a couple of regeneration globes early on, and as you pointed out, you need to win the Immortal in the first place in order to get those additional 2 globes, and that is not a given certainty, so it's a little bit of a risky choice here overall. Now, let's see if it's going to pay off or not. For now, Wukong Gaming, they're rallying around their own Immortal, trying to defend it, using their bodies to intercept Li Ming's skill shots, using bodies to intercept Genji's shurikens. Now, however, SPT Gaming still did a good job at poking it down slowly but surely, and they got the first 50%.
Yeah, Tychus was working on the top Immortal, was not able to get it down on his own here. So as such, like you said, first half of the Immortal goes over to SPT. Can they win the second half? As we see Wukong Gaming coming in for the raid. They want Dahaka. They get Dahaka. Now, can they get everyone out, and can they protect the Immortal? They need to send someone back to start working on their own, on the SPT Immortal. In the meantime, they've just sent everyone back. So Perfect Team just moved back in.
Okay, they're probably going to lose it because they had so much of a lead, SPT that was, but still, I think they salvaged this situation very nicely. They took a kill, didn't really mess around, didn't waste any more time, and this first Immortal, sitting at roughly 30% of its shields, should be defended very handsomely.
Indeed, they have all rotated down to the bot lane, except for Dahaka, who is being harassed by Genji, as he heads up to the top lane to soak the experience up there. So yes, the Immortal, very low shield, should be killed off fairly quickly. You'll see them burn it down as with their abilities as quick as possible, being able to poke from rage. That was an aggressive dash by Genji, very nearly went over the wall, getting stunned up, little
nice
bit out of
pressure.
position. That route is really irritating. He does get killed off, but Tychus dies in exchange. Now it is Arthur's dropping low. Karazim also had to pull back, so the Immortal will get through the 2 towers here, and actually Arthur's very nearly out of position again.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it's not easy to kill a Genji just like that, due to his high mobility, but ETC played that so well, Lao Hu really knocking him to the side while he was in the middle of his engagement, and then of course the zoning routes beautifully placed by Malfurion as well, so nice early picks here for Wukong Gaming, and this is definitely how they want to start this game. They do not want to fall behind, they do not want to get snowballed on by a Genji composition, they want to hold their ground, they want to stay even in XP, and so far they're doing a pretty good job at it.
So, Echo Pedal coming in for EGC. Personally, I disagree with that on this map. I think Hammer-On can get significantly more value on this map, especially as you're not the solo laner. Right now, a noob is the solo laner who's gone for Beetle, Burrow, Beetle. The BBB build, just short of 1 more Beetles. Nice scouting throw by Malfurion, sees this wraparound. They're able to grab the objective. Now, are they able to get out? ETC trying to lock him down. Gets the stun, but the body blocks were there, and as such, Tychus is locked in. ETC is dropped as well. Thalstad even flew down, trying to put some pressure onto Mal, but was not able to get the kill. That does leave a Nubrak alone, but the 2 kills make up for it.
They make more than up for it. However, you do, or you should question Wukong Gaming's resolve to fight there in a 4 versus 5 situation, because they had a noob wreck at the top lane. They should have realized it. They should have been like, okay, we rather sack one person out of position rather than trying to save that person and try to fight them, especially against such a heavy front line that will not let you go like Arthas and Dehaka. So well played by SPT. A little bit of a mistake by Wukong Gaming in my opinion as well. But yeah, as you pointed out, Tetcher, that Beetle build could prove to be very interesting. We have the healing Beetles at level 7, and we have the more magic resilient Beetles at level 1 here. Let's see how far they're going to take it. There is, I think, another Beetle talent at 13 or 16. I can't remember.
There is a spam Beetle. There is the passive Beetle spawning at 4, which he is not taken. And then there is the 16 talent, which is the auto attack Beetle. So I believe it's every 6th auto attack spawns a Beetle.
Here we go. So Zero going in here with his burrow charge. Once again, they don't have anyone damaging the enemy immortal here, while Falstead and Dehaka, they can afford to stay in lane. They can afford to soak level 10, deal with the mercenaries that would otherwise be a threat to the enemy fort, and they're just using their global mobility to the fullest. And look at the global XP count here. It really shows.
Yeah, we are seeing Wukong hovering around the area. They were thinking about moving in to try and maybe get Falstad there, but he's playing too far back, playing too safe. In the meantime, Dehaka rotated to mid. They wanted to see if they could grab a kill as well. Genji with the good scout. So many abilities used to try and knock him down there, but he's already gone.
That's also something you need to consider. If you manage to catch a high mobility target like Genji out of position, do you really want to commit all of your cooldowns to potentially locking him down like the Entanglement story? Oh, whoa!
Bit too far there.
Okay.
SPT just living in Wukong's base before any of the forts are even down. As we see them taking down the Immortal, though Falstad getting caught in the stun, knocked up, focused. The palms on him. It doesn't proc, but he's still able to keep himself alive. Now has the static shield on him from his lightning rod, able to pick up that kill. They're able to get 3 members, 4 members. Just a noob rack left, trying to focus him down. He is able to burrow. That's not going to stop him. Have you not seen this game so far?
LNEC knows the way.
He's going to escape. LNEC, help. Help, Beetles. He's finally able to finish them off and escape. But the Immortal, very high shield this time. Yeah.
And I'm really curious whether Quan Zhao wanted to land there or if he was clicking on the minimap and it was just 1 centimeter too far off to the left. But either way, he was able to just barrel roll out to safety, and it was still an okay guess, still locking their opponents down. And SPT is now in full swing. They're charging towards that fort in the top lane. A really, really healthy Immortal supporting them in their endeavor, and SPT is just looking very, very dominant at this point.
So Tychus has gone with the stacking minigun and the Drakon laser drill. Currently, his minigun has no stacks, but you have to start somewhere. And stage dive from HGC, even though there is only 2 with the Dehaka Drag and the Mighty Gust, he still goes for that counter global to try and react to the Falstad and the Dehaka.
So the way I see it is, when you're 2 levels behind, like Wukong Gaming is right now, you need to go for full risk. You need to go for the big playmaker, which could be the mosh pit. If you go stage dive, you're basically trying to fight the enemy on even terms. You're going to try to counter global them. Is that going to work? I don't think so.
Just saw the attempt there to try and use the stage dive as a playmaker, was not able to land on as many people as they would like. As such, SPT, they do a bit of damage to those tier 2s and then are pulling back to grab all the mercenaries. Now, this stage dive, like I said, it is a commitment to a more macro style as opposed to a more all-in style. The warrants of how effective that will be is yet to be seen, but against a team like SPT, I don't hate it, sort of, but I agree. Sometimes when you're behind against a team like SPT, against any team who is suspected to be better than you, sometimes you have to take the risk.
Yeah, and we basically saw what SPT is capable of doing against that stage dive. You see it go in, Falstad probably will always have a Mighty Gust ready because of its low cooldown. And as you can see, stage dive is still at 19 seconds, Mighty Gust is already at 5 seconds. So they're always going to have this immediate disengage ready when they see ETC going deep. So I don't think ETC is going to get any value anytime soon if he uses the stage dive, unless there is a severe misplay by SPT. Now look at Genji, by the way. Melody C continues to be that menace, dishing out the huge damage numbers, and I think he also just completed his Shuriken Mastery.
I don't think he completed it, I think he got the 50%.
Yeah, I think he got a 50%, yeah.
Yes, which I can't remember what the reward for that is, but
it's just increased damage, basically.
Yeah. I choose to think of it as just a way to get that cool quest complete sound twice in one game.
Yes.
which is always satisfying.
Always
We're going to
awesome.
see them pull back for the moment, making their way over to their own side of the map and up to top lane a little bit, clearing out the mid wave a bit. Xin Zhao holding out, checking to see if Dahaka is in any particular danger, might need a gust or anything, just scouting around. As Genji making sure that this Fallen Shaman camp is a big taken, while the rest of SPT take their own Fallen Shaman camp.
Melody.C's just all over the place. He's their mobile vision scout, if you will. He's always there to observe the enemy team's movements, and he's not really, he doesn't really have to be afraid of getting caught anyway, because he has 2 abilities to get him out of harm's way. And even the Cocoon can be dodged. We've seen that in the European HGC, by the way. Yeah, an X-Strike too.
Yeah, he has 3 different escape abilities here. So, SPT very easily, very handily taking the first Immortal phase. They're going to once again move onto the offense here. This time Wukong reacts. They know they can't win the race, so they move in to try and defend their Immortal.
Dahaka so much damage
is chased away, but yeah, it's getting chunked down so much.
It's crazy. The Immortal, oh, fancy camera angle here. Thank you very much for the action.
That was actually really, that was the most helpful version of that I've seen. Yeah. We see Nubarak getting focused down here. Stage dive coming in. Only hit Nubarak. Gust not needing to be used yet. So stage dive really only just delivering ETC to the fight at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, it did achieve something, the stage dive that is. It zoned SPT out for now. It forced Falstad also to defend. Because he was like, yeah, I can do that as well before we commit to a potentially unfavorable team fight. He can also still fly in, I think Falstad that is. But even without him, Melody.C is trying to finish that Immortal all by himself.
Gust is used, Li Ming's still there, but no one else in position except for Li Ming. Arthur's at 2 high health. They're not able to achieve anything.
Yeah, and this is not looking too good. ETC now even teleporting back to base in order to defend top a little bit more quickly. But they're sending everybody in there for just 1 mercenary camp. This is normally not how you use your resources efficiently. And that, of course, leaves the field wide open for SPT to finish the enemy Immortal. That is pretty threatening right now, because look at those shields of the Immortal. This could potentially be a keep if Wukong Gaming doesn't defend perfectly.
Yeah, that's a big old shield, and they're going to see if they can make a big push out of it. Wings, though, getting some pressure on him. Falstad moving in, gets knocked up by a Nubarak. Everyone is here, except for Arthurs, who is hanging around from below, thinking about moving in. Doesn't take the risk, though. Instead, finds Tiger's trying to rotate round, wants him, but can't get to him. Nice escape there. ETC coming in for the zoning out as well.
And also Falstad, look at that beautiful 3-man route into the blind. Misaka definitely reading his opponents here like a book, and it was just brilliantly, because it just bought a couple of more seconds. And look at ETC now going in, getting rooted immediately, and this is the opening of a big fight.
Yeah, they can see the 2 globals in the top lane, so they decided to try to engage before the globals could actually get down here. The attempt was good. They tried to move on, but they moved on to Arthur, so as such, he's been able to survive. Valfurion with the ice block, trying to keep himself alive, but he is killed off. Disintegrate being dropped down here, but Li Ming completely out of position, getting chased down by Karazim here, who gets the kill. They turn onto Tigers, killing him off as well. It's a full team wipe, except for ETC, who might get interrupted. Hit him! They get him, they're chasing him down. While this is happening, though, Keep's dead. Core is about to join it.
Yeah, Arthur's actually, wasting a little bit of time there, in my opinion. But of course, you keep one team member of the enemy team busy. In fact, you keep the only survivor who could stall out the game a little bit more busy, which renders him unable to defend here. And this is a very handsome victory for SPT, not really breaking any sweat here, looking dominant, and they just showed us some awesome play on Battlefield of Eternity. Wow.
Well done by them indeed. So, SPT, this is exactly what we said. They need to show their dominance here in this series, and already putting it on a fantastic job of it.
Yeah. And you could feel a little bit sorry for Wukong Gaming. I think at times they weren't really on the same page. At times it always showed that they were just 1 step behind constantly to their opponents. However, I do like their fighting spirit. I really do like their willingness to try out something new, like the ETC, like the Beetle build on a Nubarak. It might have not, worked the way they wanted it to, but still it shows that the team is not really, just giving up, trying to play standard and then just go down. They're still trying to get their own style to the battlefield.